In this video, I will show you the fastest way to create clean SaaS-style text animations in Fusion. The kind of animations used in YouTube intros, tech ads, and SaaS videos. I will drop a Fusion comp onto the timeline, stretch the length a bit, and open it in Fusion. First, grab a background node and connect it to Media Out. You can use any soft background here, maybe a gentle gradient. The background color really doesn't matter if you plan to turn this into a macro later. Next, I will add a text node and merge it into the main pipeline. Type your first word and style it a little. Honestly, the default Open Sans font already looks super clean, so I will keep it. To animate it, I will use the merge node. I'll increase the size to almost double and add a keyframe. Then move forward about 10 frames and bring the size back down to 1. Now open the Spline editor, check the size parameter, hit zoom to fit so we can see all the keyframes. Select them and smooth the motion. I'll tweak the handles a little as well. Now I want this text to slide left after the zoom out. Now notice this, the zoom out animation ends at frame 10. If I start the slide animation after frame 10, the motion will feel stiff and disconnected. So instead, I'll start animating the center X before the zoom out finishes, maybe around frame 7. So at frame 7, I will keyframe the center, move forward about 10 frames, and slide the text to the left. Then about 12 frames later, I will push it just a tiny bit for a subtle drift. And about 15 frames after that, move it fully off screen. Now back in the spline editor, I'll make sure only the center spline is visible, hit zoom to fit, and smooth the motion. Next, I will copy this text node and its merge, paste them here, hold shift, and merge them into the flow. Replace the text with the next word, set H anchor to left, and position it after the first word. Now this second text already inherits the animation from the first one, which saves us a lot of work, but I want it to appear slightly later, after the zoom out animation starts. So I will select its merge node, add frame 8, set blend to 0 and keyframe it. Then 1 frame later, bring blend back to 1. Now I'll copy and paste this second text and its merge again, merge it into the node tree, change the text, and position it right after the second word. And save a lot of time. Now this next word is going to be the keyword, so let's make it stand out a bit more. I'll copy this third text and its merge, paste them, merge them in, change the text, and position it right here. Under the shading tab, I will change the color type to gradient, then choose colors for the left and right sides. Try to pick colors that work nicely with the previous text colors. I will tweak a few more gradient settings until I find a look I like. Now around frame 40, where the slide animation is starting to settle down, I want to zoom into whatever the text is visible here. The easiest way to do that is probably by adding a transform node after the last merge. At frame 42, I will keyframe the size, move forward around 20 frames and increase the size to about 1.4. Then move ahead around 6 more frames and just add another keyframe to create a small pause. After that, move forward about 20 frames and increase the size even more. Now let's smooth the motion in the spline editor. Before I further improve the keyword animation, I want the other text to fade into a lighter gray while this keyword zooms in. That little contrast helps guide the viewer's eyes straight to the important word. At frame 43, the first word is already off screen, so I will select the second text node and keyframe its color. Then about 3 frames later, I will switch it to a softer gray. I'll do the same thing for the third text node. Now select the keyword text node around frame 79, where the zoom in animation is ending. I will keyframe the opacity. 1 frame later, set opacity to 0. Now notice this little pause we created in the middle of zoom animation. This is the perfect spot to add a click pulse effect. And here is a little Fusion puzzle for you. For the pulse effect, I want the keyword to quickly scale down and back up. But if I animate the size directly, the text scales from the left side. Because the H anchor is set to left, I want the text to scale from the center without removing the left anchor. So how will you solve this? One easy way is adding a transform node after the keyword text and adjusting the pivot point to the center. So at frame 60, I will keyframe the size, move forward 3 frames, and reduce the size a little. Then 3 frames later, bring it back to 1. Back in the spline editor, I will smooth the curve until it feels like a nice soft pulse. Next, to visually confirm the click, I want the keyword gradient to flip directions after the pulse. So select the keyword text node, go to frame where the click happens, and keyframe the mapping angle. Then one frame later, adjust the angle so the darker side switches positions. To make the third text disappear at the exact same time as the keyword, I'll copy the keyword text node, then select the third text node, right-click opacity, and choose paste settings. That transfers only the opacity keyframes. Now to really sell this click effect, I will bring in the hand tap PNG and merge it into the main pipeline. I will resize it from the merge node and tilt it slightly. Go to the frame where the text starts zooming in and keyframe the center. Move forward a few frames and move the hand toward the text. Then move forward about 3 frames and just add another keyframe for a small pause. Now comes the click. I will keyframe the size, move forward 3 frames, reduce it slightly, then 3 frames later, bring it back. Then add another keyframe on center, move forward a few frames, and pull the hand backward. To make the hand appear at the right moment, select its merge node, go 1 frame before the animation starts, set blend to 0 and keyframe it. 1 frame later, set blend back to 1. Then go to the frame where the hand animation ends, keyframe blend again, move 1 frame forward, and set it back to 0. Now here is a subtle little detail that actually makes a big difference. The keyboard should slide in with a tiny delay. That small delay reduces clutter and makes the text easier to read. So I'll select the keyboard merge, open the keyframes editor, hit zoom to fit, and offset the animation by 3 or 4 frames. Now we just need to make it appear at the correct time. Select the merge node, right-click blend, and reset it to default. Then go to frame where the keyword starts sliding in, set blend to 0, and keyframe it. 1 frame later, bring blend back to 1. Next, I will add another text node and merge it in. Type the next word, set its anchor to left, keep the same size. For a little contrast, I will use a different color. To create a gentle pop-up effect, go to frame where the previous animation is slowing down, select the merge node, adjust the base size if needed, and keyframe size. Move forward around 10 frames and increase the size slightly. Then smooth the animation in the spline editor. Now, somewhere around the middle of that pop-up animation, I will keyframe the center, move forward around 20 frames, and slide the text left. Then around 10 frames later, push it slightly more for a subtle drift, and about 15 frames later, move it fully off screen. Then smooth the center spline as well. Just like before, I will go to the frame where this text starts animating, set blend to 0 and keyframe it. 1 frame later, bring blend back to 1. Now I'll copy and paste this text and its merge them in, replace the text, and position it properly. To make it appear at right moment, reset the blend, go to frame where it should appear, set blend to 0 and keyframe it. 1 frame forward and reset blend to 1. And if it is visible at the end of the animation, hide it with the blend. Next, I will copy this text node again and merge it in. Replace the text with the next word, keep the same size, move it off screen first, then go to the frame where the previous text starts moving left and keyframe merge center. Move forward around 15 frames and slide it left. Then another 15 frames later, push it slightly more for a gentle drift. A few frames later, move it fully off screen. And again, smooth the motion in the spline editor just like before. Now copy and paste this text and its merge one more time, merge it in, and replace the text. And position it right here. If a few letters are still visible at the end, you can either tweak the center X a little more or simply hide it using blend. Next, I will grab a fresh text node and merge it in, type the next word, choose a color, and reduce the font size slightly for a contrast. Set its anchor to left. Now I'll go to the frame where the previous text is about to disappear, select its merge node, set blend to 0, and keyframe it. 1 frame later, set blend back to 1. At that same frame, I will also keyframe the center, move about 15 frames forward, and slide it left. Then a few frames later, push it slightly more, and about 12 frames later, move it fully off screen. Then smooth the motion in the spline editor. Now I'll copy and paste this text node and its merge, connect them into the pipeline, and replace the text, and position it properly. Then select the merge node, open the keyframes editor, and offset the animation by around 2 frames. Alright, final word. I will grab the one last text node and merge it in, type the text and style it. This time I will use a gradient again and style it just like before. Go to frame where the previous animation is about to end, set blend to 0 and keyframe it. One frame later, set blend back to 1. At the same frame, keyframe the size, move forward a few frames and increase the size quite a bit. Then a few frames later, reduce it slightly. And finally, around 15 frames later, reduce it just a little more. Now smooth the keyframes in the Spline editor for a nice gentle pop-up effect. Let's preview this. That looks pretty solid for a first draft. And if this helped, give the video a like and subscribe.